Oh man, I mean, my head's a mess at the best of times, but this is beyond a joke now. Oh, you're not here for hair, you're not here for fashion. I've got a desk full of watches. This is my state of the collection video. And no, it's not just all Rolexes. 25% are Rolexes. 25% are also quartz. So it's diverse. It's a diverse collection. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. I am Adrian, and today I'm going to be taking you through my watch collection. I've done quite a few state of the collection videos in the past now. It's kind of been a yearly thing. So what I thought I'd do differently here is, rather than just show you the watches that I wear, I'm going to take you through my whole watch collection. And it's kind of in two parts. Basically, watches that I actually wear, and then the rest of my collection. And that rest of the collection part consists of watches that have a meaning, either gifts or just project watches that I've bought not to wear but just to enjoy and play about with. A lot of people have the mindset of only buy a watch if you're going to wear it, and I don't really fit in that camp because there's other things about watches that I enjoy. I class a part of my watch collection that I actually wear to be relatively boring, and the other part that I don't wear, that's where the interesting stuff is, that's where the stories are. And I guess that's why I've kept them, is because they have something connected to them, and there's been a bit of a journey with that watch. Whereas the watches that I wear, they're all kind of plain Jane. They're kind of the standard stuff. I mean, I love them, and that's why I have them, and that's why I wear them. But for me, I'm more interested in the stories of the other watches. So I'm going to go through the ones that I wear first, and then I'll take you through the bits and pieces that I don't really wear, but they're solid parts of the collection. The first watch I'm going to show you is the one that's been mine for the longest, and this is my Kermit. This is the Rolex 16610 LV. This particular one is from 2008. It's the one that I've owned for the longest. It's not the oldest, but it's the oldest with me. Now, this is my pride and joy, although it's not the watch that I love the most within my collection. I feel very grateful that I've got it, because there is no way in hell that I could afford to buy this watch now. I bought this about 3 years ago now, I think, and I paid £5,990 for it, and they go for considerably more now, although this is pretty scratched up, and you can see that quite hefty ding on the bezel. But yeah, none of these watches are safe queens. I made a video quite a while ago now, quite early on into the channel, stating that I was going to retire this watch to be a safe queen. That was a bit of a white lie, if I'm going to be honest with you. It was a bluff. Basically, I used to get lots of threats. I used to live in London, and London's pretty hot on watch crime, and I used to get a lot of threats of people wanting this watch, and it's a relatively recognisable watch for those who are aware of what it is, and I started to get recognised around London. I just thought it was, rather than for people to assume that I'd be wearing a high value watch like this, I thought, let's just put the word out there that this is a safe queen, and it's unlikely that this is going to be on my person. That's not true. It wasn't a safe queen. It was. I do have a safe deposit box where watches live, but they don't live there continuously. They just, rather than having all of this stuff around, they're just in there just to kind of get them out of the house. It's cheaper for the home insurance rather than having this stuff in the house to have it out. But anyway, this gets worn. This is not a safe queen. I buy watches to wear them, and I know it upset a lot of people, and I got a lot of flack from people when I said this was a safe queen, but it's not a safe queen. It's never been a safe queen. It does sometimes live in a safe, but it gets worn. It's battered, and that's why it's all scratched up. The next watch is another Submariner, and I don't want anyone saying, why have you got two watches that are the same? Because these guys are not the same. They give off incredibly different airs about them, and I love, this is my No Date Submariner. Sorry, let me introduce it properly. This is a No Date Submariner. This is a 14060M, and this is from 2004. I bought this last year, I think it was, and it was one of those watches that's a bit weird. It was a bit of an anticlimax. It was a watch that I've always wanted. When I properly got into watches, this was probably my first watch that I really fell in love with. And when I got into the position to be able to buy it, I thought, this should be the thing that I should get, but actually it was a bit of an anticlimax, I've got to be honest. What I love most about this Submariner, and I guess what drew me to it, is how versatile it is. I actually very rarely wear it on the bracelet. I actually put the bracelet on just for this video. I usually wear the watch on a leather strap. I've got one of our mocha straps here, which has got this nice vintage style stitching on it, which you can get over at barkandjack.shop. I know it upsets some people when you put leather straps on a dive watch, but I'm not ever going to go diving with my watches. And if I'm honest, if I was going to go diving, then I'd probably take the bracelet off and put it on a Bark and Jack native strap. Both of these you can get over at barkandjack.shop. So the next watch is my favourite. This was the game changer for me. This is my Rolex Explorer, and this is my favourite watch out of the whole collection. This is the Explorer 14270. This particular one is from 1998. I actually bought this watch at auction, having done very, very little research on it. I bought the watch with the purpose of doing a video on it and then selling it on. I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with its simplicity. I fell in love with the fact that, and the reason it's a game changer for me is, it's a Rolex, but it's not your in-your-face, very recognizable, relatively flashy Rolex. It's incredibly understated. It's just completely under the radar, and to be honest, I could sell everything here and just have my Explorer and still feel like a watch person, still be relatively happy with my collection. It is the perfect one watch collection, even though it's 36 and within today's sizes that's relatively small, but it's awesome. Such an awesome watch. Next up, I have my CWC G10 or W10, depending on who you ask. And this is probably my most interesting watch, and is actually one of the cheapest watches. I bought this for about 60 quid off eBay, and it was all messed up. The case was all bashed up. I mean, the case is still pretty bashed up, but the glass was completely scratched and just needed a bit of poly wash, and that cleaned that up quite nicely. I'm not going to speak too much about this watch because I'm going to do a whole video on it very, very soon, within the next couple of weeks. Just because it is such an interesting watch, and if you're new to watches or you're into watches but you don't have a massive budget, this is such a great piece to get. Just because it has so much history with it. And you can get them on eBay, and there's lots about. They're not massively expensive. I think they go for about 120 now. In short, this was the issued watch for the British military for a very, very long time. And the numbers on the back will give you a lot of information about the watch, which branch of the military it was issued, and the year that it was issued in. So these watches are really very, very cool. And as I say, I'm going to be doing a video on this piece. Hit that subscribe button down there so you don't miss the video, because these are very, very cool watches. We're going into the territory of watches that I don't really wear, but I love, and they range from a Grand Seiko down to a Seiko 5. I guess I should talk about the Grand Seiko, because I've spoken quite a lot about this watch. I've just not connected with this Grand Seiko. There's been times where I've really enjoyed it, and I don't know why I haven't connected with the watch. And no, it isn't because it's quartz, because I have a couple of quartz. This CWC is a quartz watch. It's got an ETA quartz movement inside. This G-Shock is a quartz. So it's not quartz watches. There's just something about this that hasn't really connected. And why is it still in the collection? Because I love the movement inside. This is powered by the 9F quartz movement, which is just an incredible movement. And if you're simply in the camp of poo-pooing quartz watches, then please read up about the 9F quartz movement. I'll do a video solely on the movement soon as well, because the movement inside these things are absolutely amazing. Quartz watches aren't inherently bad because they're quartz watches. You do get crap quartz watches, absolutely, just like you get crap mechanical watches, but there are also some phenomenal quartz watches as well, and this sits in that camp. This particular watch has a star down at 6 o'clock, and that 5-pointed star represents its accuracy of being accurate to 5 seconds a year, which is sensational, even by quartz standards. This is the Grand Seiko SBGN001, and this is the limited edition version. You can tell that, 1, by the star, and 2, by the yellow paint down the bottom. This was launched to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the 9F quartz movement, and this is limited to 800 pieces. Before anyone mentions this is a homage to the Explorer 2 or it's a rip-off of the Explorer 2, you might want to look up the Glycine Airman, which was launched before the Explorer 2. If this is a homage of the Explorer 2, then the Explorer 2 is simply a homage to the Glycine Airman. just to show off the movement a little bit. There's so much torque coming off this quartz motor that the hands in this watch have to be 4 times heavier than normal hands on a quartz watch, because there's just so much power in this movement. The second hand ticks, and it has regulators inside to make sure that second hand hits every single second marker perfectly. This watch is a phenomenal watch, and that's why it's still in the collection, because it is. I'm in awe of how fantastic that watch is. Next up, I have a Casio G-Shock. For a long time, I haven't really been into G-Shocks. I had one when I was a kid, and then I attended the Global Red Bar meetup in New York last year, and as part of that event, we were all given G-Shocks. That's when I realised how comfy the strap is, and just how enjoyable the overall experience is. It's just a cool watch, and I really like it, and I actually plan on getting another one. I don't like the reds on this one. I'm not a massive fan of red, but I plan on actually getting a G-Shock, all black G-Shock, just because I love this piece. It's just fun. Where should we go next? Let's do this one. This is a Mondan from the 1970s. I bought this off eBay, I think for about 30 quid. Solely as a project watch. I like playing around with watches, and so I bought it just to mess about with. Crystal was completely scratched up, and so I just popped the crystal out and bought a new one, and then replaced it, and that's when I realized that the dial was actually a burst dial. I couldn't tell from the crappy eBay pictures that the dial was burst, and it's quite a cool dial. It's just a good looking little project watch. It's good fun. Next up, we have an HMT. Now, this was actually a gift from a viewer of the channel very, very early on, and it was to say thanks for introducing him to Oris, or rather the boutique. Long story short was he'd come to London from India, and he wanted a job in a watch shop, but he wasn't having much luck, but also didn't really know which shops to go for. And I did a video about Oris and spoke about how nice that Oris boutique was, and the staff inside. And that's where he ended up getting a job. To say thanks, he sent me a watch from India. And this is the HMT. Again, a very nice burst dial, similar to that of the Mondan. Next up is the Seiko SKX. And every time I share a photograph of this on Instagram, at barkandjack, people always say, I thought you gave your SKX away. I did give an SKX away. I gave my SKX away. When I left my job, my boss gave me this. It was actually his watch. It's not in great condition with regards to the movement. The movement is absolutely screwed in this thing. I'm guessing that it's magnetized and just needs to be demagnetized. But basically, his dad gave it to him. He wanted a different Seiko, and he was a bit annoyed that his dad had bought him this Seiko. And when he found out that I was a watch guy, he found out quite early on, actually, which was quite interesting. I talk about how I can wear my Explorer in all situations and no one recognizes it as a Rolex. He was the first person in a work environment to ever recognize the watch as a Rolex. And we got talking about watches, and he told me that his dad had given him his Rolex OP, which is perpetual 34mm, an old one from the 70s. But he never really wore it because he always cycles, and he was a bit too concerned to bash it up. His dad also gave him this SKX. He asked me if I want it because it's just sitting in a drawer, not doing anything. If you happen to know how to date an SKX from a serial number or something, then drop a little comment down below, because it'd be quite interesting to figure out the date of this thing. Right, let's talk about my Seiko 5s. I have a few Seiko 5s, and actually 2 hybrids. This was the first one that I got. Well, it was kind of a mixture between this one. Basically, I got this one first, and it had this dial in. A viewer actually sent me this dial, but I didn't like the case and bracelet of this watch, so I actually just swapped the dials around, and this looks absolutely phenomenal. That I just love how curvy and just how artistic the Arabic numerals are, and it's I think it's a really very, very cool looking watch now. This gold Seiko 5 is really a very, very bizarre piece. I bought this again as a project just to play about with. I like taking watches apart and just fiddling with them, which is why this case back comes open so easily. It's just like a fidget spinner, but it's good fun. But basically, it's a weird watch because it's gold, but then the whole dial is luminescent. I think this was about £10 on eBay, which is why I'm quite happy just playing about with it. It still ticks, I think. It's not ticking anymore. Yeah, it doesn't tick anymore. At least it used to tick. No, that's really not ticking anymore. So no, it doesn't tick anymore. It's completely knackered. But that's my watch collection. It's quite a diverse watch collection. There are watches that I am going to move on, but the one that is most definitely going to stay forever is my Explorer. There's just so much connected to this watch, despite the fact it's not the watch that I've had the longest. It's just the watch that I've connected with the most. I'm sure you guys can understand that. Anyway guys, I hope you like this video and I hope you like this little collection. Do drop me a comment down below with ideas of where it should go next, or maybe what kind of watch that I'm missing. I have an idea already where I'm going to go next. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like this style of video, then hit that subscribe button down the bottom there. If you like this video, then hit that thumbs up button as well. If you want to check out the watch straps and watch accessories, and jump over to barkandjack.com and just hit that little shop button. And if you want to check out articles, and just explore barkandjack.com as well. If you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.